Stacy, we start with what you say initially. Look, 85% looks better than 0% in terms of revenues. But what is the precedent here? What is their long-term access to China, too?
Yeah, so I don't like the precedent that it sets. It feels like a very slippery slope. Again, like I said, 85% better than zero. I think it's better for them, both for them, as frankly, as well as for the U.S. in general, to be able to sell into China. Like, you don't want to hand the Chinese market for AI over to Huawei. We want to be able to compete there. So I think it's good. This idea of, like, I don't know what you want to call it, pay for play, or like export tax, or whatever you want to call it. I don't like it, though.
Quid pro quo.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's a slippery slope. Why does it stop here? Why does it stop with China AI? Why not other products, other companies? Ultimately, right. I mean,
Stacy,
I don't like it. Now, it's not up to me, But
well, quite. Like the reason I jumped in, and Caroline, forgive me, but the reporting was really clear, right? Citing the anonymous source, that it is a quid pro quo in the sense that it is 15% in exchange for an export license. That's what the reporting tells us. Have you got enough information on your desk now to model for what you think and when you think Nvidia and AMD can start booking that revenue?
So it'll let me put the 15% aside for a minute. They have to restart these supply chains. Both companies have some work in progress, not really any finished goods that they can just sell. They've got some work in progress that it was halted, that they can restart. It will take some time. It will take even more time if they have to start actually new wafers from the beginning of the process to run them through. That'll take, could be 6 months, even longer, 9 months maybe. So to the extent that they do ramp this up, it will take some time. Maybe you get a little bit. We had spoken with Nvidia about a month ago when the news came out that the licenses were getting
I'm sorry to jump in. We'll be back with you in a moment, but President Trump is just speaking on this very topic. Just take a listen.
President Zelensky to join.
So you have to understand, this is a war that should have never happened. This is a war that wouldn't have happened if I were president. It would have never happened. It was the apple of his eye. I got along very well with President Putin. But if you look, under President Bush, they took a lot of territory.
Let's jump out. Sorry, Stacy, we return to you because he's just pivoted quickly away and now back on relationships with Russia and, of course, with Ukraine. But he was mentioning AMD and, indeed, the China relationship. And I go to you on that because longer term, what will AMD's access, what will Nvidia's access be to China? Because China doesn't seem thrilled thus far by what the sentiment is coming out of the US.
Yeah, I mean, look, so in terms of these things, by the way, like, Nvidia has a roadmap with new products that are supposedly already compliant that they don't require a license for. So I don't know if they would have to kick back some of that once they get products actually below the threshold that they need a license anyways. And they do have a roadmap to sell in China. AMD's been a little less forthcoming about their future China roadmap, so I don't know what products they have that may go. Presumably they do have a roadmap, and we'll hear about it in due course. For the long term in China, though, I mean, you got to remember, like, these thresholds are fairly punitive. China actually does have local products that have better performance than what both Nvidia and AMD are actually allowed to sell there. The benefits that Nvidia, and especially Nvidia, has is around ecosystem, which is why we don't want them shut off, because we do not want the local developers in China to coalesce around other local alternatives like Huawei. But you have to think, like, over time, the gap between what Nvidia and even AMD are allowed to sell in China versus what they're allowed to sell in the rest of the world is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. They're not going to really be allowed to improve the performance of these products in China to the extent that they could do it anywhere else. And the Chinese are going to do their best to improve the performance of their own products as much as they can, given the constraints that they're under. So, like, over time, look, China, it's a big market. Hopefully they will get some of it, but I mean, it's going to be a competitive market, and it probably will be impaired relative to what they would be able to sell there if there were no constraints at all.
Stacy, Caroline and I had the opportunity to quiz Lisa Su about this in the middle of last week. I just wanted to play her thoughts on China right now.
90 days ago, we did not expect to be able to ship to China because of some of the regulations. I think this administration, the Department of Commerce, the government has actually been very open to trying to find the right balance between national security and ensuring that we have U.S. AI technologies proliferated across the world.
We've talked endlessly about Jensen Huang's ability to have a relationship with the president, but I just wondered if you give an evaluation of how Lisa Su's doing in D.C. right now.
I mean, like she seems to be doing all right as well. Like Jen, you have to remember Jensen's the dominant player here. Like AMD, I mean, and more power to them. I mean, it was they've done very well given where they're coming from. But I mean, they'll do. You know, they did 5 billion of sales overall in AI last year. I mean, Nvidia did, I don't know what it was, 100 billion. AMD said that the China ban, you know, at the time cost them $1.5 billion this year. Nvidia will be 10x that or even more. So they're relatively small. But I think Lisa, like in terms of building her case with the administration and helping and trying to build that relationship with Trump, which for better or for worse is important. Is important. I think she's done a good job. At least
Stacy
she's been
Rasgon.
there. She's been present. She's been visible. Right. There are some other players in the industry that maybe have been a little less visible.